Hispanic and Latin community. People are really starting to question, who are you really aligned with? I'm Frank Ski, and I'm just frankly speaking. Recently, the rapper Plies went viral when he had a very interesting question for you all.
Hey, just real quick. But this to my Latino brothers and sisters that follow me on here. I'm trying to get y'all to educate me on something. I'm being dead ass serious. I ain't even being funny. I'm trying to see kind of what y'all feel. I'm trying to let y'all educate me on it because I don't want to be viewing y'all the wrong way. So I'm trying to figure out, do y'all feel like y'all align more with black folk, or do y'all feel like y'all align more with Caucasian?
Okay, in case you can't tell, I am mixed. I'm the product of a black Puerto Rican father and an African American mom. When I was young, my grandmother used to raise me, my Puerto Rican grandmother, who didn't speak very much English. And when I used to date a black girl, guess what she used to call them? Cucarachas, meaning roaches. She didn't like black people too much. My father eventually married a white Cuban woman, and I was brought into this white Cuban family, very loving family, spending every Sunday dinner in Hialeah and Little Havana. And rarely, if any, I don't remember seeing any black Cubans. It wasn't until I was grown and went to Cuba and was like, damn, there's a lot of Africans here in Cuba. Matter of fact, I went to Brazil, Salvador Bahia. I was like, damn, there's a lot of Africans here. And all over the diaspora, Africans are everywhere. Here's the interesting part, though. Most Spanish-speaking countries don't relate to their other half. Guess what they want to be? The colonizers. Listen, every Spanish-speaking country on earth was colonized by Spain. White Spaniards. Matter of fact, down in Texas, James Tallarico beat Jasmine Crockett for that U.S. Senate seat. Who is he? A white boy from Texas. He got over 60% of the Latino vote in Texas. How does that happen? Most blacks would have thought y'all was related to us. Y'all got the same struggle we got. But y'all really want to relate to the white colonizers more than the people who were struggling like you? Why is that? I'm not here to judge. I'm just Frank Ski asking a question. And when I used to date a black girl, guess what she used to call them? Cucarachas, meaning roaches. She didn't like black people too much.
These people are mentally ill. There's no other way to put this. I'm sorry. Because how your grandson is highly melanated, looking like this, and you telling him other melanated people, specifically black Americans, are cockroaches. That's how you look at other melanated people. Now, it's okay that you have a different culture. It's okay that you identify as something else, right? Another ethnic group. But to have this adopt the ideology of the Spaniards, because this is where this ideology is coming from. The Spaniards, the people in Spain, you're looking like this and you're thinking like a Spaniard, because this is something they put in place centuries ago. But anyway, Puerto Ricans, any Latin American people, just wrap it up. Y'all did not contribute anything to black American culture, and that's including hip hop, because your folks is telling you that black Americans are cockroaches and it's jungle bunny music, especially the Puerto Ricans that's always yapping that they contributed.
I hate being black. And I'm not being for real about this, but I'm going to be talking about colorism in the Hispanic community. So as a lot of you guys know, and you can see, I'm freaking Puerto Rican, but I'm black. I know that's crazy. My grandma, she's black and she is literally from Puerto Rico, so don't question me on nothing. But for me personally, it's always been a bad thing that I'm black. I get told not to go outside too much because they don't want me to get any blacker. A lot of my friends, most of my friends are Hispanic, but they're not black Hispanic. They're not Afro-Latino. A lot of the times, the butt of the joke is me being black. Like 90% of the time, the butt of the joke is just me being black. Like, I get it, I'm black. As well as getting into relationships with Hispanic men. It's always just like, oh, like, I like you, but you're just not my type. You're too black for me. You're too black for me, honestly. Or like, people just question my identity all the time, and they're just like, you sure you're Puerto Rican? Speak Spanish right now if you're Puerto Rican. You sure you're Puerto Rican? And it's annoying, honestly.
And that's why I said that Bad Bunny performance at the Super Bowl was performative, because you have stuff like this going on in the Latin American community. And sometimes it's not even colorism, it's racism, because they have white Latinos and white Hispanics and white Puerto Ricans, right? And Puerto Ricans practice that blanqueamiento. I'm gonna put the word right here, blanqueamiento, meaning to improve the race is to whiten the race. So why would they even add her to their gene pool if they're trying to whiten the race, right? To them, Latino is a certain look. You know what I'm saying? You got to look like Fat Joe. That's a Latino, right? You got to look like Wendy Ortiz. That's a Latino, like Latina. When they say, hey, I want me a Latina, they not talking about no Afro Latinas. They talking about Wendy Ortiz, the Wendy Latinas, right? So once again, sometimes it's deeper than colorism in the Latin American community. It's extremely the otherism with the R. And she really don't like the fact that she's black.
Every time somebody asks the Hispanic community not to say the N-word, y'all get defensive, and start saying the N-word all throughout the comment section and things of that nature. But when somebody start talking about, calling, those people to get y'all removed, you know what I'm saying? Then it's all, you shouldn't say that. Two wrongs don't make a right. No, stop disrespecting black people. It's that fucking simple. I don't never see y'all getting mad and start yelling out saltine. I never seen it. I never see y'all get mad and yell an Asian slur. I never see y'all get mad and do anything other than yell the N-word. You know what I'm saying? And then y'all like to throw, I'm Afro-Latino. Bitch, no, you're not. You just saying F black people. Baby, you know what I'm saying? I seen the videos where the lady in the Dominican Republic was trying to get her baby a black doll, and the mama threw it on the floor and handed her a white doll. We know how y'all parents think. You know what I'm saying? So, no, y'all need to cut the crap.
Why is Latino culture racist? Well, I'll tell you. Welcome to the Latino paperback test. Now, it's literally designed by YT people from Spain, and they ingrained it into our brains. We had 100 extra years. The indigenous had 100 extra years of getting their behinds waxed, and the only way to get a leg up is by intermixing. So let me show you the hierarchy. The U.S. Spaniards, and this is to show you too, that what I'm saying, this is what I'm discovering. That all Latinos are not the same race. We are not. We are not the same. Latinos, we must acknowledge this. We are not all the same race. We are not. Latino is a culture, a slave culture. That's really what it is. You have the Spaniards up top from Europe. You got the children, the ones that were born in America. Then you have the mix, the European and the indigenous. Then you have the other mixes, right? And the more pure-blooded you are, the lower down the totem pole you are. And guess where Africans are? This is why you don't see nobody in Telemundo, Noticiero, etc. But it gets worse because you got these lapdogs over here, and I don't care who gets offended, the ones that indigenous that mix with European and want to act like they're YT, they became the gatekeepers and the lapdogs for these guys. So they started stomping on, and it benefits them to stomp on the rest of them. You know why? How I know this? Because now that I'm going back to El Salvador, for all y'all saying leave, as if the white team is gonna accept you all of a sudden, is that till this day, you got these guys, there's a sub-movement of these guys still trying to keep this caste strong to keep oppressing the rest of them. Not all of us, but this is a thing, and it's disgusting. And if wherever you are, especially y'all in El Salvador, y'all believe like this, y'all disgust me. But see, this is the standard in Latin American countries. But what happens, when they come over, they bring that mentality over because nobody checks it, which is why I'm talking about it. For all y'all who watch my previous video and want to take a dump on me, all you're doing is reinforcing it. When you get all negative on me and talk about you don't care and everything else, all you're doing, listen, I don't need to talk about this. I could just let Latinos be racist and delusional. It don't bother me none. I mean, it does, but they don't affect me directly. I'm passable. Not that I'm proud of it, but it's just a fact. I acknowledge that because of this sick system, I can move in certain ways where I can pass. I'm not accepted. I'm not delusional, but I can pass. But anyways, they bring it over here, and this is why you want your jobs and everything else. They want to kick you out your jobs, because it's these guys primarily. Like, these guys got issues at the bottom, the more pure bloods, they got issues and they be racist, and that's why Dominicans and Colombians and all anywhere where you got Afro-Latinos, they be like, me no black, me no black. It's because it's this. Literally, you could not associate, like, you in Latin America, now it's better nowadays, but it's still bad. Like, where it came from, like, you were literally at the bottom of society, bro. Like, the stuff that these people went through, our ancestors, like, it was a desperate, like, mission to mix in order to get up. And no, this isn't justification or whatever the heck y'all was saying in the previous video. Only reason I'm talking about this is because it's disgusting. And I see the plight of black people talking about, yo, like, we did all this, that, and the other for Latinos and the fighting for rights in America and everything else. Like, that's honorable. Like, yeah, that's messed up. Latinos being fake and whatnot. But I'm telling you, there's a whole, just like y'all got CIA implants and movements and sub-movements in y'all community, we got them in ours too. And I'm telling you right now, it's these guys. It's these guys right here. And one last thing. You could talk all the smack in my comments. You're just making it more about helping the algorithm. But on the other hand, you're just making the dumb same ones that I was talking about go, you see, that's why mijo, no, you stupid, no, this is why we don't deal with them. That's all you're doing. You're just reinforcing the ignorance.
Can we just talk about the anti-blackness that exists in the Latino community? Because it's a real thing. And it is only further perpetuating the division between our two communities and contributing to the overall oppression of our two communities. And I know there's going to be some people out there that's like, that's not even a thing. That's not a real issue. But it is. I grew up hearing freaking racist remarks made towards black people. And I heard it often. And I know so many other people did. And not only is it about anti-blackness, it's also about internalized racism that some Latinos, including myself when I was a child, felt the need to be white because I saw white people being treated better. And in my mind, I'm like, well, if I'm white, or if I consider myself white, or if I tell people that I'm white, then I am going to be treated better. I didn't understand as a child why I even felt that, but we are socialized as a society to want that unless you break out of the freaking matrix and you realize, oh my gosh, we're all being oppressed by the same freaking systems. So for us to have division and for there to be anti-blackness in our community is not helping anyone. One, it's just wrong. But two, it's only further perpetuating the oppression that already exists in our freaking society. So there's that part. And then there's this whole dismissal of Afro-Latinos because Afro-Latinos exist. Yet sometimes are classified as not Latino when in reality they are Latinos. Afro-Latinos. And then there's this whole freaking connection to where we find ourselves in American history, okay? And the fact that many people, many Latinos, Latino men in particular, did not want to vote for a black and Asian, but a black woman, okay? And then there's the intersection of machismo, internalized racism, anti-blackness, and all of it contributing, again, to the further perpetuation of oppression of our communities. That's what I need people to understand. When there's division between our two communities, that is purposeful, okay? Because these systems, these people in power want us to be infighting, when in reality, there's a lot more that we have in common. We are also being oppressed by the same systems. We should be supporting each other. And it is because of black people and their advocacy that we, as Latinos and other communities, have the civil rights that we have today. The ability for us to even be able to have that privilege was in large due part to black people, okay? So I need us to understand that. And I need us to have a conversation about that, because even if we were brought up that way, that doesn't mean that we can't change. That doesn't mean that we can't do better, because we can. Okay? Even if society socializes us to believe that, we can change, we can do better. So if you want to have this conversation, follow for more.
Latinos, they can cosplay, but they're not fully actual white people. They know exactly who they are, and they use them. They use them to get our dollars. They use them to get us to do their work for them because they know they want to fit in so bad, but they could see right through that. Am I making sense to you?
I'm trying to understand context. So white Latinos are not fully white.
No.
What does that mean?
They're Latino. They're from another, they're not necessarily originally from, well, they are originally from here, but they have a different culture, and white people can see that. They might play along and include them in their little white world, but they know exactly who they are. And so they're not really fooling anybody.
Well, how about this? Let's get down to the nitty gritty, to the root of
Okay.
this whole white Latino. So it seems to me, which trust me, this seems to be the norm. What you just explained seems to be the norm, understanding or lack thereof. For example, keyword, you said white Latinos are not fully white. And I said, what do you mean by that? And then you said, oh, because their culture is different. But hold on now. Hold on. Here's the difference. White Latinos and white people, gringos, whatever you want to call them, they're all European descendants. The only difference is that the European descendant white people in Latin America just happen to be born in a country in Latin America. That's the only difference between these two. And if you're going to say something, which I will agree with you, if you're going to say something like the gringos, the white people in the US, don't necessarily like the white people in Latin America, I will actually agree with you by default. That seems to be the case. However, you want to know the reality of it is that the Spaniards and the French, the Italians, the Portuguese had already been beefing and had a problem with the English and the British before they even came from Europe to here. So their beef has always existed even prior to them coming out here. So white Latinos cannot use gringos don't like us, so we're not the same. You guys have never liked each other. You guys have been at war in Europe before you even came bothering us over here. And this is problematic because white Americans don't see white Latinos as their own. Does that mean that they are us then? No, they're not. Not only are they not by lineage, we're obviously different people. Where I will agree with you is that white Americans don't necessarily like white Latinos. Okay, fair. That's obvious. However, does that make them us? Meaning, do white Latinos, are white Latinos racially the same identity as I or lineage?
I think it's all in their heart, like how they present themselves. If they include themselves in with us, because my best friend's a white-sican, and I mean that girl's 100% Mexicana. You know what I'm saying? You can't take that away from her. She doesn't try to blend. She doesn't,
Let me pause you right there. So your best friend is a white girl from Mexico. She's 100% Mexican. You can't take that away from her. Oh, but who's taking that away from her?
Right.
We're not arguing whether she's Mexican or not. We're arguing if she's white or not.
Well, yeah, her blood's European, but she's not down for what the colonizers did to our people. That's what separates someone who's cosplaying and someone who's not.
Hold on a minute. So because she doesn't agree, according to you and according to her, maybe she doesn't agree with what the colonizers have done. That makes her then what? One of mine? One of my people?
I mean, she's an ally, she's an ally, and we share a culture. So yeah, she's
this is good. Hold on, Sarah, stop right there.
Let me interrupt you, Ricardo. I'm at 1%. I love arguing with such a good-looking man, but my phone is literally going to die in a second.
Why? So. Can we continue while
I don't know what to do
before it dies? Let me say this.
Okay.
So we share a similar culture. Which culture? Because the mainstream Mexican culture is Spaniard-based. Our culture as Mexican people is white culture, is European culture predominantly. Speaking Spanish is whose language?
It is Spaniard. It's the
and mainstream Mexican culture is Catholicism. Whose religion is that?
The colonizer. I agree with
Part
that.
of the Mexican culture is having which names? Spanish names. Whose people is that? You see? So we share a culture because of colonialism. Sharing the culture is part of the problem.
But there's more of a vibe with her than just a straight up like Becky. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's an opinion. What if I get
That's
along
my
with Becky
opinion.
more than with your Mexican white friend? What if I get along better with Becky than with Maria, Blanquita Maria? You see? Anyway, let me get her out of here. She's frozen solid. Because on one layer, you have simply the European descendants, the criollos, European descendants born in Latin American countries. That's one form of white in Latin America. But another form of white is the actual blanqueamiento, the process of it, which is non-white people in Latin America, both brown and black, going out of their way to practice blanqueamiento, meaning to have children with white people in hopes that their children, a lot of times it happens, their children being born light-skinned. That's just the first step of blanqueamiento. Step number 2 is when you succeed in having a child with a white person as a non-white person, you also raise this child to stay away from black, stay away from indigenous, and to also look at white as the target. Hence, mejorar la raza or blanqueamiento. That's literally and technically what blanqueamiento is, and or mejorando la raza, to improve the race and or to whiten it. The effort of going out of your way to have children as non-white people with white people in order to achieve your next generation to be white and or white passing, white presenting, and raising this child or children to also seek the same goal. And after several generations, you have successfully become white. Ironically, in 2026, we have a lot of these people who are the product of mejorando la raza, of blanqueamiento, the effort of their parents and grandparents aiming to become white, then being the result and the outcome of these efforts, generation after generation. Now we have these people that are a product and or result of it who reject being white. Ironically, you are literally the representation of the goal of your parents and grandparents. You literally are a success story because you are now white. You're a success story. This took generations to achieve, but for whatever reason, you as an individual, as a white Latino, for whatever reason, although you are a success story, to the effort of mejorando la raza, to the effort of blanqueamiento, although you are literally the living proof that they succeeded in what they wanted to accomplish, you are ashamed and you reject your whiteness, although you are. But, my great grandma was indigenous. It looked like you, Ricardo. I got a black and white picture of a grandma that looks like you. Right. I believe you. But your great grandmother practiced mejorando la raza and or blanqueamiento. And she raised her children to also do the same. And their children to do the same. And now here you are. They made the effort to become white generation after generation until they succeeded. And now their success is turning around and saying, but I don't want to be this. But you are now. That is the result of mejorando la raza and or blanqueamiento. White presenting, fully white presenting people of Latin America with their parents that practice mejorando la raza and or blanqueamiento. That's what it is. There's 2 reasons why white people exist in Latin America. Those same reasons is why white people exist in the United States and in Canada. One is because they are direct descendants of Europeans that came here. But number 2 is because they are a product of non-white people that made the effort of practice mejorando la raza and or blanqueamiento, getting with white people generation after generation, teaching their kids to stay away from negros and to stick with white. And that's the reason why anti-blackness exists in Latin America, because the origin of it is to mejorar la raza, is the effort of blanqueamiento, the effort to whiten. That's the story of blanqueamiento and or mejorando la raza. It's the effort of a people that are not white, either black or brown, practicing mejorando la raza, blanqueamiento, whitening and or improving the race. You, white Latinos, you're either one of two, no in-betweens, no other reasons. One of two. One, you are direct descendants of colonizers or simply European rejects that Europe didn't want. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. You are the descendants, direct descendants of colonizers and or European rejects that Europeans didn't want. Or you are simply just a light-skinned, watered-down version after generation of your ancestors practicing mejorando la raza and or blanqueamiento. That's the reason and the only reason white tea people exist in Latin America. There's no other. There's just these two. You are rejects of Europe, direct descendants of rejects, or you're just watered down, very, very watered down versions of your great grandparents that practice mejorando la raza by having children with white folks, so on and so forth for several generations until here you are.
This whole Ashley Gonzalez thing is actually an amazing lesson, teachable lesson on what is actually racism. A lot of people really don't know what racism is. They confuse it a lot of the time with just simply being prejudiced or discriminatory, those types of things. They confuse and conflate those two things with racism. Racism is a systematic type of oppression. It is very systematic. If you don't have a system attached to the discriminatory actions, the oppression, the predator or prejudice type of, actions, it's really not racism. It's just being prejudiced or being biased or whatever the case may be, or having a very disheartening opinion about other people, right? You don't have to like everybody, whatever. In fact, you can dislike somebody for the color of their skin or the lack thereof. You can dislike somebody for their height or, the texture of their hair or their eye color or how they walk or, anything. That is all prejudice. That's having and holding a prejudice against a person or a group of people for whatever reason. When you are racist, that means you are being backed and or using a system to oppress a group of people, right? So when it comes to this Ashley Gonzalez situation, what makes her just the epitome of being racist and racism is the fact that she held a position of power and a position of authority to be able to act upon her biases and her prejudicial feelings against other people, specifically Black people. And that also, and that's the main reason why Black folks, and I am one of them, who make a very, very solid claim that Black people cannot be racist, because we do not use systems, and we cannot really use any systems to oppress other groups of people. We just don't have that type of power. Politically, socially, economically, we just don't have that type of power to be able to oppress a whole group of people based upon what race they're subscribed, right? Because race is a social construct, so you can't choose your race is chosen for you. But anyways, she being in the position of authority, being in the position of a police officer who can actually enact oppressive actions against a certain group of people based upon her will, she is the epitome and a great example of what racism is. I'm trying to find an example of a Black police officer using their power to oppress a whole group of Latinos. I'm trying to find an example of a Black officer or official or someone in government or someone in business. I'm trying to find an example of a Black person using that power to oppress any group of people. And I have difficulties finding an example. Maybe because there is none, because Black people aren't racist. And so when I hear certain Latinos buck against the idea that their culture is based upon anti-Blackness, that their culture is deeply rooted within anti-Blackness, it's funny to me because you have the whole Mujer La Raza. What the hell is that if that's not anti-Black? When you're trying to completely erase Blackness from your community. I mean, that's literally a part of your culture. Are we not going to act like that is an issue, that anti-Blackness within your community is an issue? And yes, there might be individuals who don't feel that way, who aren't racist, who really don't subscribe to those biases. But a few individuals compared to millions of people who uphold this ideology is just not enough for us to say that y'all community is anti-Black. It's just not enough. Until we hear more people saying, no, we need to address this, we're going to address this, and we're going to get rid of this type of ideology, until we hear that coming from Latinos, there's a problem. And I'm speaking from the position of being a Black person in a state that is majority white Hispanic. Majority California, just as much as Texas. I think Texas might have more than us. I don't know. They pretty much the same. And my people come from Texas. Half of my people come from Texas. So I know the sentiment y'all hold. So instead of trying to absolve yourself of responsibility, instead of trying to say, that's not me, not me, not me, how about you say, you know what? It's not me. And I want to make more people in my community like me. I want to make my type of ideology of not upholding anti-Blackness a part of our community as opposed to the opposite. I don't know. These are just feelings. Because, I worked in a police office, or more so specifically a sheriff's department. I've worked there, and I know for a fact that is a problem. And that the people there use their power to oppress, to discriminate against, and to treat in the worst way the Black incarcerated individuals. I seen it with my own eyes and thought to myself, what can I do? And I tried, trust me. But it's difficult when you're only 6% of the population. It's very difficult to fight against that system. That's racism. It's a system. It's not individuals. Okay? Individuals make up the system, but individuals are the ones who are upholding the system instead of dismantling it. Dismantle the system, and then we can talk about individual biases and opinions. Until then, I really could care less about your opinion. Let me see you actually put in the work to dismantle the system. Just my 2